Route 240. Make up your mind, maybe? I was just staring at your face. Thanks. That's where my eyes are. So we'll see if it stays that away. Look out behind you. What is it? The same tree pasted over and over and over and over and over and over? Is that what you're referring to, Mr. Psychic Dudo? Yeah, reach Heart Dome City. I can't word say. Holy crap. Reach Heart Dome City and talk to Fantine in front of the contest hall, and she just despawned the moment she reached the bottom of the screen. So that means it probably happened for me as well, but I never noticed it. Because I could have sworn she went off the screen and then she was gone and despawned. And like, I don't even know. Like, was I not paying? Maybe I just wasn't paying enough attention. I have to get going now. Have a good rest of the stream. I appreciate the raid once again, Ginto. I hope you have a good rest of the day. I hope you have freaking sweet dreams of us missing Pokemon or something. I don't even know. Didn't go off the screen for you. Just popped out of existence. What the hell? Somehow it kind of doesn't surprise me though. Somehow it kind of doesn't. Sadly. Boobity bop, another level up to send out Kadab on the haters. Who said that to me? Was it you, Lancer? I want to say it was you. To Kadab on the haters. Like, that was the reason I remember that is because that was what was said just before the acid rain glitch. I think it's from me freaking watching back the clip where the acid rain glitch happened in Platinum, and I was reading out the note in chat about kadabbing on the haters. I'm fairly certain that's what that was. But yeah, I'm playing the patch version, so maybe that was our version difference. Maybe she walked off the screen and then despawned for me, but in the patch version she doesn't or something. It was guaranteed to be you. Freaking watching the clip of the acid rain glitch and seeing Kadabra there just made the freaking stupid Kadab on the haters suddenly pop into my head out of nowhere. So there was that. Crunch. I feel like Torterra should be bigger. That's what I feel like, but what do I know? Didn't even program her to move down one more frame. She just poofed. This is literally the first instance you notice an animation error without your expert eyes. Huh. I mean, well then. Only one who'd say something that stupid. You've got Kadab on the haters. You've got its free real estate. Are these rocks 2D or 3D? I actually can't tell. What are these? Hold on. Mallows, please. I'm trying to see here. Oh yeah, there was Explode during Bravely Default too. That was certainly something. Everyone calls me a ruin maniac. I don't care what they call me. Sometimes they call me I don't know what I was gonna say from there. I'll just keep on chipping away at the rock wall little by little. You know why? I'm a ruin maniac who is fascinated by unknown. Well, I need to bear down and dig through the bedrock now. Want to search for some rare unknown. It's going to be messy. Better go outside. Some people call me Maurice. Yeah, the game is so obviously rushed. If they waited until January, the game would have been much better. I'm sure of it, but then they wouldn't be able to push it out for like the holiday sales. For people spreading good word of mouth for like a couple weeks in November and then like holiday stuff coming up, you know? What about welcome to the unknown hunt? Oh, is that like a side quest thing, Bob, for like collecting unknown? Or I'm so used to swap being the second option. It's throwing me off. Is the thing, Bob. Cave didn't use his music in Diamond and Pearl? Didn't? It didn't? I'm not really paying attention. This area seems to be very mystifying. That's the sense I get. Sure, I mean, I'll battle with the Pokemon I found. In Diamond and Pearl, I used the generic cave music. Ow, stop flashbanging me before you start the battle. Chill out. In Diamond and Pearl, it used the generic cave music, but here it uses the Eternal Forest music. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I feel like Torterra should be bigger. Was that like a single frame of like extra zoom in? What was that? Like I wasn't seeing things there, was I? I hope. I'm not going crazy. Bada bing bada boom. Take that, silly Cranidos. Take that. Take this. Be gone, thought. Yeah, I do like the starry night sky and whatnot. I'm so glad that I can just like crunch, munch the Bronzors now that steel doesn't resist dark like it did in Platinum, you know? So I don't have to worry about super... Don't you have Levitate, though? I swear, I know that there's some Pokemon that are clearly visibly levitating, but don't actually have the Levitate ability. I don't think Bronzor is one of them. So, that was a hint to catch the unknown. Never did it either. bouncy mallows? Was there an aspect of bounciness there? Maybe. So 5% of getting the sand hippo in that cave. Oh, hippopotas? One of the best Pokemon names ever. One of the most fun ones to say. Gosh diggity darn you. How dare you do such a thing? I can't believe you've done this. But okay. I was about to say my disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined, but there's that. I love the MIDI trumpet so much. It gives me life. It gives me life. One of the things that I also wanted to talk about sometime during this session, but I wasn't sure when to do it. You know how when we were in Gardenia's gym, we were talking about we were talking about the freaking manga for Generation 4 from back in the day, and I was showing how I had like the full of that spin-off series of the manga stuff, and I was saying like semi-seriously, semi-jokingly, like, hey, maybe I should maybe it's something that I should like read out of curiosity, because I haven't done it in like forever. Like I read that way back when, but like it's so far back that I barely remember anything about it apart from just like enjoying it. Well, I started doing it. I'm actually halfway through the second one now. I don't even remember how many there are. Because they're on my shelf like behind other books, so I haven't taken out all the books to get access to all of them yet. I've just taken out like 1 or 2 books to reach back to like the first couple of the those manga there. So I think it goes up to 8 if memory serves, but I don't recall. I don't quite recall. I can just go into the other room right now and check and get the answer, but but I started reading them. At least 7, because you have number 7. Huh. My memory is telling me that there's probably 8. Hi. Hi, sweetie. Hi, silly doggy. So I started reading them, and now I'm halfway through the second one. And let me just tell ya, oh my goodness, some of the ways that it has shown that the story of Diamond and Pearl can be improved. Like, for one, it's a very different story. Like, is also something that you do have to acknowledge with, you know, different characters with different personalities and whatnot, and, you know, a more scripted journey than, well, scripted in a different kind of way, you could say. But it really drew to light some of the ways that the original story kind of, what is that animation of his? He's like, eh. I'm not, a lot of the time I laugh at things in this game because I think that they turned out like really bad, but that animation is just funny. I like it. He's just like, he just goes, eh. As he casts out the command. I need to rewatch that the next time we see a collector. What the hell? Whoever designed that animation, freaking give them a raise this instant, honestly. But it really brought to light some of the ways that the story could be improved, namely with the like the chapter that I most recently read. I think it was chapter 3 of book 2 that showed some interesting things with Cyrus, where you know, in this game, or in Diamond Pearl Platinum Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, Cyrus is basically just like this generic big bad that's like, ha, I want to destroy this universe and make a new universe, and I will be the god of that universe, and it will be like all good and stuff like that. Wow. And that's all you see. That's basically all. Gosh darn it, you're sturdy. That's literally all it is in this game, or in these games, in like the whole Generation 4 Pokemon games, essentially. But in that, like, it starts out very much like that. As I was reading, it was either chapter 2 or chapter 3, whatever chapter that is in the second book. But while I was reading that, like, at first it seemed like that was the same kind of thing. It's like, oh, you want to know why I'm going after Dialga? I can have so many things, but the one thing I don't have is time, as he holds like a pocket watch. It's like, with the time is the one thing that like waits for no one, that nobody has control over. But if I could control that, it would make me a god. And he like crushes the watch in his hand. And, like, it shows this kind of at first generic big bad side of him that, you know, just kind of seems like someone who's evil for the sake of having a plot and doesn't really have any depth to him at first. But after he's making his getaway and the main character, you know, catches up to him and tries to stop him, he starts talking about his convictions a bit more, and he's like, man, isn't this whoop. Okay, I had to go silent for a second just for the cricket tune. But he talks about his convictions a bit more, about how, like, this world is so dang crummy. Wouldn't it be, like, so great if a new world could be created that, you know, everyone can be happy and, like, smiling in and whatnot. And to achieve that, he's willing to, you know, make countless sacrifices. He's the kind of person of the mindset where the ends justify the means. And, like, that already makes him, like, a smidge human in a way. But it also goes, like, a step further after that, where, after what's time to play with you, oh goody. After the main character winds up defeating Cyrus's first Pokemon of his Weavile, Cyrus is portrayed as, like, this dudo who is, like, this crazy threat that, like, what kind of person could even hope to stand up to him? He's, like, super powerful. And that's his mentality as well, is he's used to, like, winning all his battles and basically getting what he wants. And now all of a sudden here's this character that's standing in his way and, you know, actually making him have to, like, really think and get challenged in this battle. Like, he actually has to try and whatnot. And the main character had some sort of a line along the lines of, like, you know, you're a really bad dude and doing, like, a whole bunch of evil things and whatnot, but you're really good at battling and this battle is really fun. And Cyrus, he gets, like, this smirk on his face and he's like, fun, you say? Like, this battle is fun? And he starts having, like, a little bit of joy for a hot second, thinking, like, when was the last time I felt this way, where I could actually be pushed and have fun with a battle? But then he, like, snaps back to reality and he's, like, shocked and he's like, how could I possibly think just a thing like that right now? How could this freaking kid, like, put such thoughts into my head? This kid is too dangerous to be kept alive. And he whips out the freaking Gyarados and straight up tries to murder the kid in his rage. And, you know, destroys the bridge that they were on and basically just leaves him for dead in the river. And he's just, like, sweating and, like, panting there after it's done. Like, that shouldn't have come to that, but it's over now. Let's just move on. And as I was looking at that, as I was reading that, this was last night that I was reading this, I was just shocked. I was like, whoa, why can't the story I'm experiencing have that? Why can't any of, like, Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl have that kind of story? Especially with, like, a remake like this that's, like, the opportunity to, like, change things around rather than just giving you the exact same that it was before. Like, the exact same, just scaled up. Like, a remake with this could have been, like, such a cool opportunity to, like, you know, do something really neat with that. Because, like, the overall premise of, gosh darn it, Diamond and Pearl with Team Galactic sounds like the kind of thing where it's like, okay, you might need some generic big bads that are just generic big bads for the sake of it. But from what I've read in that manga so far, it feels like they took that premise and were actually able to, like, bend it into a believable, very human, and very fascinating kind of way. Whereas, like, the actual main games across, like, all these of Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl just use that premise and that's it. Here's some generic big bads that are trying to, like, destroy the world and make a new one. That's basically it. So reading that lately over the past couple nights has made me, like, disappointed with these games in a different way, in terms of, like, the story, feeling like this could have had, like, this had so much room for improvement, and this was, like, their one shot at telling the story of Generation 4 Pokemon's main series games in, like, a much more, in that kind of way, in that kind of really fascinating way. Like, this was the one opportunity they were gonna get to tell that kind of really cool, fascinating story. But they were like, nah, let's not do that. So I've honestly been really fascinated with what I've been reading so far, is quite frankly the case. And I look forward to, as this series goes on, like, both me reading those and continuing this series here, me continuing to report my findings on, and impressions of going through that manga. To think this is something that only started because we wound up having that conversation. How did it even arise? How did it even start when we were in Gardenia's gym? We just kind of stumbled on that topic, and now it's become, like, my new goal to get through the Diamond and Pearl Adventures manga alongside these remakes and, like, report on my findings. It's crazy how things work out sometimes, isn't it? But yeah, anyway, like, I have been reading the most of the stuff that was written in chat in my head, even if I'm not reading it out loud because I was on my crazy ramble and whatnot. But yeah, Let's see here. Cyrus in that manga is amazing. Cyrus has a backstory in the games. There are some old people in Sunnyshore who are his relatives that tell you the kind of life he grew up with, but that just feels like a kind of freaking... That just feels like a Bravely Default 2 situation. I did not like the story of Bravely Default 2. It did not make a whole lot of sense. There were so many unanswered questions, and freaking, I believe it was Guzma who was telling me that apparently if you want like the true story, you have to like take the time to like read all these like library entries and do all this lore digging and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, well, like lore digging can be fun. It's like, especially in games where it's like, you know, that's kind of the name of the game when it comes to the story. Like it's what made the FNAF series so popular, I'd argue. Things where it's like the whole premise of the story is if you want to figure out what the hell, if you want to figure out what's going on here, you have to be looking into the lore. But you know, a game that is portrayed as like, you know, something that's showing you the full story here, and then it's like, joke's on you. The story only gets like a bit better if you really dig into it. Or like Dark Souls is another good example of something that expects you to dig for it, and it can be fun to do that kind of thing. But in something like Bravely Default 2, as the story I was really, really salty at, it was just like, oh, here's a freaking 70-hour JRPG that's supposed to be super story-driven, except your story just straight up isn't complete unless you freaking studied for the test, is what it's like. And it just feels disappointing in that kind of regard. Like, and it makes me really wish that stories like that, or even stories like freaking Team Galactic in Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, could have been like flushed out, actually show you on the surface, visibly show these things that are happening. Like I've been reading in that manga recently, where it shows this like super flustered Cyrus and like these different sides of him, what caused it. What cry, that Wormadam's cry, what Pokemon cry am I thinking that it's like similar to? I have no idea. I swear there's like some cry that starts with that, but then makes a second sound afterwards. It's like a pa-ching kind of sound. And it's like maybe a steel type or something. Oh my goodness. I'm going to lose my mind over this. Let's just not dwell on it. What are our steps at? Our steps are fine. Our steps are fine there. But yeah, what? You do have a Pokedex. But yeah, let's just see here. Diamond Pearl Adventure Cyrus is just amazing character, gets even better. Can't wait till you reread the backstory of that manga's version of Dawn. It's amazing. Like, I've heard from our talks on like in whatever the heck, Eterna's gym. Like, it was already, you know, mentioned there that she was like an ex-member of Team Galactic. And I found that out with what I was reading up to this point, where it's like Jupiter and Saturn were calling her a traitor, and like the elder of Celestic Town was like, could she be an ex-member of Team Galactic? So it's like, that's already established. But her actual backstory behind it, I don't know it yet. There was a time I did know it, but freaking not anymore, because it's been too long, you know? The day will come, I will get through those all, and I will remember why I enjoyed those stories so much. Hello, Craig. How are you going today? How are you doing? I can't words. How are you going today? Where are you going? Where are you doing and how are you going? That's exactly what I wanted to ask you. So to send out Ponyta. Well, this is basically my best option here. It's a shame the Gen 4 story is so generic, because Gen 4's lore is probably your favorite in the franchise. Gen 4 lore is really fascinating. It'd just be really cool if they like took that lore to build like a better story, you know? That's kind of how I felt about Fire Emblem Three Houses. Fire Emblem Three Houses has like one of the most in-depth lores and histories I've ever seen in like any game in my life. Like, oh my goodness, the amount of man hours that just had to go into like creating a history for this fictional world must have been absolutely insane. And that's something really fascinating about that game. But I just wish that, out of the way, please. I just wish that could have been used to, what is this camera? I'll never understand this game. Anyway, I feel like Fire Emblem Three Houses is like one of the most in-depth lores I've ever seen. One of the most in-depth lores and histories I've ever seen in any game in my life. I just wish that it could have been used to, you know, craft a better story, you know? Like, the story of Fire Emblem Three Houses is, like, fascinating, and does several very interesting things, but it's not like with how much lore and history it had, it could have absolutely been like a masterpiece of a story, but you know, instead was just kind of alrighty. To be honest, I did really like the Blue Line story of Dimitri's character development. I actually really liked that. But like the general overarching story of Fire Emblem Three Houses to me was just like the individual story of Dimitri and his character development in the Blue Lion's route. I really liked that. That was a really cool story to me that I really thoroughly enjoyed. But the overarching story of Three Houses, like the big picture, even though it has like such an in-depth, crazy lore and history, the overarching thing was still just kind of to me. Dimitri is also pretty fast. But yeah, let's see. Your problem with Bravely Default 2 story is that it does every cliche in the book and doesn't do anything new with it at all. Legit feels like an AI was fed every JRPG from the 90s and spat that out. It really does. I've been planning for, like, ever since it came out, I was thinking about doing a video essay on Bravely Default 2, and I still haven't to this day. And, like, it feels like it might be a little bit late to do it. Like, it's not really as relevant anymore. It's not really gonna give me any brownie points in the algorithm if I do a thingamabob on that. But I mean, not everything I do on this channel is for getting brownie points in the algorithm. In fact, most of the stuff that I do isn't, to be fair. So I don't know, maybe it's something that I do at some point regardless, but Bravely Default 2 makes me salty. Almost everything about that game, except for the music. The music of that game has got to be like one of the best soundtracks on the Switch. Like, my goodness, Revo is a freaking musical genius. I just put that out there. Like, as much as I hate Bravely Default 2, that game is worth it just for the music. That's how much I look up to that freaking soundtrack. That soundtrack is, having that on my, my phone playlist and that in my life is so good. But what really sucks about it is that, like, next to every theme in that game is copyrighted. So I so badly want to use that game's soundtrack in, like, my videos, but I just can't. So maybe I take it back. I hate the soundtrack. I take it all back. Let's put that there. Let's just see here. But yeah, I guess who's got two thumbs calls the game a tech demo has returned. Welcome back, Reggie Bump. Is easy to write lore? You've discovered writing a story is so much harder. You're aspiring to be a writer. It'll be interesting when we get the freaking Minecraft story thingamabob underway on this channel with the series that I'll be doing, because it'll be like my first jab at storytelling. But it's not like a actual story kind of thing like you'd read in like a book, a movie, or a game, where it really is just like a story, like a very solid fleshed out story start to finish. The kind of thing that I'm doing is like basically entry level storytelling. It's just like, here's a lore going on alongside like the other main stuff that's happening, and then here's like a meaningful conclusion at the end of it all. So, you know, the little smidge of storytelling stuff that I'll be doing with Minecraft later this year isn't, you know, trying to write like a novel or like a whole game story or anything like that. It's kind of like an entry level thing where it's like, hey, here's this stuff going on with this series. Here's like a lore going on alongside it, and there will be like a meaningful conclusion to that all by the time that it's done. But, you know, and there can be like plenty of theorizing that potentially goes on. Like, if anyone wants to like ponder what it is I'm trying to express with said story and whatnot. But whoops, darn it, I want to open this first and then save really quickly before we keep on making our way south. But yeah, the transition between Dark Dimitri and Gentle Dimitri is rushed. It feels like it could definitely be after the death of what's-his-face, and Dimitri being like, what the hell do I do now? And then transitioning over a bit quickly. I feel like that could have taken like a little bit more time. For sure, I can agree with that. But yeah, also hate how they completely abandoned the lore and world building of the first two games just to throw it in the toilet for Default 2. Yeah, like that makes me salty. Like, one of the really cool things about the story of Bravely Default 1 and 2 was how it incorporated the fact that it was a game into its story. Like, it was kind of like an Undertale situation where it's like, this is the kind of story that can only be told as a game. But literally the only part of the story that of freaking Bravely Default 2 that, you know, incorporated the fact that it was a game, apart from like the lore kind of thing of like, you know, the branching timelines and the heroes being like, oh, I remember stuff from this other save file and timeline that is no longer the case because the player you know, the player freaking erased the timeline, did something else. The only other thing apart from that was, you know, the thing at the end where it's like, player so-and-so came and helped you lift the fog. I don't even see any visual indicator of that. It's literally just a text box like, so-and-so helped you lift the fog. So-and-so helped you break the rock. And it's literally never mentioned by the characters in the story. It's like, what the hell? What even? And like, when it did sort of factor in the fact that it was a game into its story with like the different timelines with like the save files and whatnot, I thought that that could go in like a really interesting direction, because Bravely Default 1 and 2 incorporated the player as a character in the story. What with anybody that doesn't want Bravely Default spoilers, freaking click off for like the next minute or two, I guess. But in Bravely Default 1, the player was the spirit that was keeping Tiz alive. And at the end of Bravely Second, the characters are literally directly talking to the player, like at the screen at you, thanking you for helping them get so far and, you know, helping them stay determined to see this adventure through to the end and whatnot. In Bravely Default 1 and 2, the player was a character in the story being told, and that was something really fascinating. But did I say Bravely Default 1 and 2? In Bravely Default and Second, the player was a character in the story, and that was something really, really fascinating. But in Bravely Default 2, the player is just like, I don't know, the person that branches the timelines that's literally never mentioned again. Good. Nice. You know, freaking Bravely Default 2 makes me salty. That game makes me so freaking salty. But yeah, let's see here. But yeah, our goal was for the algorithm, they were failing because of, thankfully, a lack of Fortnite. If I ever freaking cover Fortnite on this channel, just hit that unfollow button, hit that unsubscribe button, hit whatever button it takes, like, and find whatever channel I've gone to. If I'm ever covering Fortnite on this channel, that's not me. Someone else has taken my place. Go find the new channel that I set up shop or something. Yeah, as a world by ourselves seems such a perfectly good world. Go to waste makes you sad. Yeah, shame your tutors don't seem to care about the game's story. Wait, tutors? Like, what do you mean by tutors in this regard? I'm not talking about that. You talk about all the background lore and stuff. There was so much of that in Default and Second. Default 2 also had background lore, but stuff in the original was just thrown. In the original world, just thrown out the window. Oh, well, the stuff I was complaining about is still stuff that I feel very closely regardless. No, darn it, I need to hold it. Gosh, darn it.